Welcome back. As I've put in the title, this is the ego episode. That's just a fair warning. This is all about me talking myself up. Mostly, there's a few kind of critical things as well. But just fair warning if you would prefer to skip this. What I will say is I've made a few changes to the audio setup. I knew the keyboard clicking was really bad in the last one, so I've kind of made some changes, by which I mean I've googled, is there any quick, easy fixes for this? And one of them was put a towel over the keyboard, which I thought was a joke, but it's actually quite effective, and I've just kind of shifted the microphone about and whatnot, so hopefully, no, not just hopefully, it actually is a lot better this time. Now, I was banging on about bot support, and this actually has it, so I could load in a bunch of bots and have a little fight. In fact, I've done it previously. To say my skills are lacking compared to where they were when I was a teenager, yeah, I don't think I think it would be a little bit embarrassing. Besides, I guess the real excuse is that I just want to show off this map. Let's say this is the best thing I've made, basically, so I think it would be good to have a look at it just by itself in a nice, peaceful, calm setting. So this is Foundry-Beta5. And it's a map set in a steelworks, and funny story, I posted this on Epic forums way back in the day, and I got a comment from somebody who actually worked at a real steelworks saying, it's not very realistic, have you had that much metal, in the open air, it would cool down, it's just a kind of pseudo-industrial game map. I was like, well yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I wish I could show you that post, but I think it's been lost to time in the Epic forums, so... Right, so this is our home node power core. Ugh. Nice starry sky, low resolution. So, this is our main hall. And the thing which struck me about Foundry right away is I thought, this actually looks pretty decent. It's one of the things that I've opened back up in the editor and thought, this is actually reasonably impressive, I think, except for this water, which... Yeah, this is what we call a placeholder. I thought, I'll just stuff some scrolling blue texture on the water. I'll make it look nice at some point, and well, here we are. This is the map which has been played for God knows how many hours, and it still looks pretty abysmal. It wouldn't be a lot of work at all, just replace the texture with a kind of transparent, translucent whatever. And I think I wanted to do a bit more with this little channel, but as it is, it's just... So come along here. Now if you time your jump right off of that, you can actually reach that shield up there, which maybe I should try doing it, but I might just embarrass myself. There we go. It's kind of a physics glitch turned feature where if you jump as it begins to slow down, you retain your velocity. I can't actually remember the thought process behind making this map. There's a map which comes with the game, which is kind of the same theme, Metal Foundry. I think I was just having a look at that and think I could probably make something out of the same assets. And it doesn't really make sense as such, but so it's a kind of broad theme. There's probably quite a lot of details in this that a lot of people that played it didn't necessarily realise. There's a buzzing noise over here, very exciting. This strange little lift. And that was harder to make than it looks. Making a mover which just goes from one point to another point is quite easy. When you get multiple points, it's a little bit confusing and difficult to actually get it all working. And again, the sort of details that you might not notice is just the particle effects there. The open sky. These ones here are a lot more obvious. Of course, we're standing over this molten. Yes, that oscillation effect I think is running a lot quicker. It must be tied to frame rate. So this is this node here. This pipe. Yeah, I guess I better have a look at this. So this is a jump pad. You just go something like that. Kroner's a bit misaligned, isn't it? So this you come in here and you think, oh, okay, you're getting pulled along by the conveyor belt, and what's going to happen? You just get teleported to that pipe, which doesn't make a lick of sense. But, well, it's in, isn't it? So, this is our main hall. The scale seems, like I always go on about this, the scale seems a bit off. It seems a bit too big, almost like you're a little toy soldier going about in this massive space. But I feel like if it was any smaller, it would probably might feel too off in the other direction. So you've got these ramps here. That's a very plain wall. Must have had more plans to decorate this stuff. In fact, there's big, well, we're getting onto this, there's big plans to overhaul this entire area. But it just didn't quite happen in this. Quite proud of that particle effect coming up. That was something that I remember. When I was making this map, I was getting much more to grips with the particle system, so I was actually making my own stuff. Titan Steel was a reference to the Titan Onslaught forums. Don't know if anybody who plays this map nowadays actually knows that. But it is. So this is me heading off to what would be the enemies. Our core had actually put a bit more effort into playing this properly. So yeah, this is just a kind of room underneath a lava, molten, whatever you want to call it. And that's the teleporter which comes in from the other conveyor belt up there. That one takes you back out into the hall. Yeah, there we go. Again, it seems a little bit plain, but not bad, not bad. And if you go in there, you die unless you land at a particular spot. And somebody would say, oh, you didn't extend your kill volume enough. And yes, I know. This is our central node, which is quite imposing, I think. Now, obviously it doesn't make a ton of sense that, where's all this metal going? It's all just kind of going into this central area. And this, that's actually quite significant, but we'll get on to that. There's an interesting story about this map, and a little secret, not so secret it has. Now, these are supposed to be one-way drops, but you can actually do, it's called a hammer jump. Well, it is if you're not completely terrible at it. Back up to it, charge up the shield gun, and jump back up here. It's not technically supposed to be able to do, but that's not a big issue. So up there. So that's just a conveyor belt which takes you to the other spawn room. I think those crates, which again doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Barrels on that side, crates on the other. I don't think those actually spawn until you're kind of looking at them. There's a setting in the particle emitters where it's like you can simulate it. I'll explain it some other time, but basically you can fix that as a roundabout way of saying it. Now, some of the map feels a bit open. This is deliberately very claustrophobic. This is a little drainage sewer room, whatever you want to call it. Now this takes you up to the side nodes. And again, if you meet somebody coming the other direction, there's not enough room for both of you, so quite fun. You can load up the rocket launcher and just expect somebody to be coming. Of course, you come to this little tunnel here, and this is a feature which a lot of people quite liked. Someone on Titan called it a roto switch tunnel, which I think is actually a fair assessment of it. Oh, and that central pivot point's horribly misaligned, isn't it? See, those pipes should be, coincident. But I guess nobody cares, I'm not fixing it now. Something which I did wish I put in a bit more was, if you fall into this water you think, okay, you're stuck, you're just going to have to blow yourself up or something. But if you swim into the middle pipe, it teleports you back up into this. Which is just a nice little anti-frustration feature. There should have been like an arrow or something, or like some sort of particle effect letting you know there's a teleporter in there, because I'm sure people fell in there and didn't realise they could do that and were probably very angry. Probably thought, oh, why can you fall into this water? Why is there not a way out? And, well, again, I probably thought I was going to do it at some point, but didn't. I think that's just a kind of nice little tour of this map. Seen all the main areas. I think it does look pretty good. Kind of not quite as good as I remember. Actually, I say it's about as good as I remember. I still think it's a kind of nice colours, nice contrast. It's not excessively bright or excessively dark. There's good decoration. A lot of varied lighting colours, it's called Foundry, but I think the one thing I did well was setting it at night, so you've got the kind of, bright yellows, oranges, bright interior of the steel, but then you've also got the nice cool colours outside in these little corridors. I think that looks I think it's a good way of doing it. I think if it was a bit broad daylight outside, this wouldn't look nearly as good. The nice starry, low resolution sky. So that's a nice little tour of Foundry-Beta5. Some general thoughts and comments. This is pre-recorded gameplay because I think, as I said, my skills not only are not very good, but they're certainly not good enough to comment whilst fighting at the same time. So I'm proving my worth there, fighting a bunch of, I think, second easiest mode bots. So, something that was very gutting about coming back to this. There's a website, there's an important word, called Unreal Tournament 2004 Stats, because every server that was hosted was ultimately hosted by, through a master server, and it would track statistics. So you could go in there and type in any player or any map, and it would tell you every single time that map's ever been played, and if you were a player it would show you your entire history, all the kills you've got, all the matches you've played, and the amount of data there was just insane. I think someone pointed out it's 5,000 years or something like that of total player time on this game. So what I wanted to do was go there and just type in Foundry, and you would have seen the entire history of this map exactly when it was first played. It was 2007-ish from what I recall, that's the date on one of my files. And there was a betas 1 to 4, and I think even those were played for a bit, because I think some servers maybe just get, an early version of a map and never bother to check if it's been updated and guess if it works well enough. So I could have got all that information for you, but that Unreal Tournament 2004 stats got taken down, I think it's 2018. And the feeling of seeing a post on a forum saying, by the way, Unreal Tournament 2004 stats is going down, you better grab all the data you can before it disappears forever. Seeing that, a year or two after it disappeared forever was pretty gutting. I mean, it would just be a matter of screenshotting a few things, really, just to show the history of the map and all the matches that have been on it and whatnot, but see, it's all gone now, which is a shame. So the main feature, it's actually a lack of a feature on Foundry, it's a no vehicles map. Technically, we'll get onto that shortly. So Onslaught traditionally is played in outside maps like Snowdrift, the map that I showed you last time, where you just look up pretty much any Onslaught map. It's all outdoors, on terrain, vehicles. Generally not much indoor fighting, it tends to be wide open spaces. And I don't know why, I just had the idea of doing something a bit different. There's been so many outside terrain maps done that I thought, let's just try not only an indoor map, but an indoor non-vehicles map. And the immediate criticism is people saying, but it's not Onslaught, it doesn't have vehicles, which is really funny. If you look back over what's left of old forums for this sort of game around this time, so the previous Unreal Tournament didn't have vehicles at all, it was all on foot. So it used to be the case, people would say, it's not Unreal Tournament, it has vehicles, and then after Onslaught's kind of proven itself, it's not Onslaught, it doesn't have vehicles, which is a bit of a kind of funny turnaround. And it's kind of a question of, if you don't want to play with vehicles, just go and play Deathmatch, but Onslaught is such a good game mode, the vehicles they're a part of it, but I wouldn't say they're totally integral to it. And Foundry is definitely not the first no vehicles map. And I might be slightly arrogant in saying it's one of the first, actually, dedicated no vehicles maps, at least at the time I played the game. As I said, I got to Unreal Tournament 2004 somewhat late, it was released surprisingly in 2004, and I kind of arrived around 2006-ish, or maybe 05. So people absolutely made no vehicles maps before, but I said, at the time I kind of arrived into the game, Onslaught, at least on the servers I played, was very much all outdoors, conventional maps, vehicles, so Foundry was kind of a bit of an attempt at breaking the mould. And I'd say it was quite successful. so much discussion about this map has been lost because Titan Onslaught forums have gone down, other forums have gone down. And one of the biggest lies that I've seen people say is when something's on the internet, it's there forever. I said, no. Well, maybe Facebook will hold on to your data forever, but at least the sort of stuff I'm talking about, I remember all of these threads and all the comments and all the feedback and all the discussions, it's all just gone. Because you thought it would be there forever, and if I knew this was going to happen, I would have saved it all. So there's a bit of scepticism towards Foundry. Again, people saying, it's not a real Onslaught map, but again, maybe arrogant, egotistical. I think it did prove itself, because at least the forums that have been left, I can go through them and see people saying, actually, it seems to be a reasonably well-regarded map. I'm not just making this up, but there were quite a few other positive comments made, which again have all just been lost in the forums dying, so that's a bit of a shame. But it kind of shocked me when I looked at some of the stats back when the stats thing was still online. It was still being played up to 2018. It was built 10 years before that, over 10 years before that, and it's kind of strange. There's one thing which I've made which has had at least some sort of impact, so some sort of lasting, a bit of a legacy to it, I guess you could say. Speaking of a legacy, when I was young, my kind of favourite childhood games, well, kind of Spyro the Dragon, that kind of thing, I was that generation. And I always thought the people making those games probably didn't think how big an impact it would have on people. For them, okay, it's a job, it's a creative job, but it's still a job all the same, and maybe didn't realise just how many kids were going to grow up with that as being a favourite memory of theirs. And I kind of wonder, maybe Foundry's like that to a few people. I mean, I guess it technically is to me, but maybe some people think back about their carefree, teenage years playing on UT2004, and they kind of reminisce about the matches they had on Foundry, the way I've had matches on, and I reminisce about them. So it's the one thing which I look at and think, it's the one of the more creative things I've done in my life, which has actually lasted and has brought joy to people. That's nice to see that it's still played, at least to some extent, has brought a lot of joy to people, and if the stats server hadn't gone down, I would have told you exactly how many hours of joy, I'll have to assume it was joy that this map created. So it's just nice that in all the hours that I put into making maps, and there's a lot more to go after this is the one which actually got played and discussed, and, as I said, was quite well regarded, I would say. So I think that's all I can say, kind of reflecting back on the map, which I'm only really going to do in this episode, because this is the only map which has really been played, aside from extremely limited playtime on a few others. So it's just interesting to look at this little collection of BSP polygons, movers and emitters and static meshes and think this actually formed part of my memories playing it online, so it's obviously formed other people's memories online, so it's just a little legacy. And it sounds a bit kind of stupid, but, well, there was another Unreal tournament made, but I think it just kind of got canned because there's this little unheard of game called Fortnite, which I think I've been told took a lot of attention at Epic Games, so their most recent Unreal tournament got canned, but I just, again, it's an egotistical fantasy, but I'd love an announcement, a kind of teaser for a new Unreal tournament game. They just showed you a little bit of a new Foundry, maybe just a little courtyard with Titan steel against the nighttime sky, just as a little teaser of that they were making another one. But obviously that's not going to happen. But it's just something when I was walking back around the map, I thought, it would be nice seeing this in a up-to-date engine. It would probably look really good, all the steel effects and whatnot. It could probably look spectacular. So that's basically all I have to say, I said, reflecting back on the map. This has gone on for nearly 10 minutes, and if anybody's actually bothered listening to it, I really do thank you, because the rest of this is just me showing stuff off and talking about, this is how it might have played, or maybe it would have been good, or maybe this would have been nice. But at least with Foundry I can say with certainty how it was played and received, so that's one thing. And now I'm getting on to the not secret of this map. It's not technically a no vehicles map. We'll see about that. Okay, we're going on a little adventure. Talked about this map having a secret. It's not actually a secret anymore. So, let's just say back in the days when nobody knew about this, and unfortunately there wasn't really an exploit which made it much less of a secret, but let's just pretend it's the very early days when this map was released and nobody knew about this, and I didn't say anything, and nobody had cracked open the map in the editor to have a look and see if there's anything more going on. Let's just take a look at what's going on here. So there's this little anchor point here, and you might look at that and say, just meaningless, right? Well, so you walk along here, you end up in this little room. Okay, I've had a good look at that, and I wrote this when I was 14, 15, so, you know, I'll take my MS Paint graffiti is leet. Should really be spelled 1337 if you were... But no, but you see, it's an ironic statement. It would be too conventional to say 1337 by saying, actually spelling it out as leet. It's a meta-commentary on being a cringy teenager and thinking this kind of thing was cool back in the day. Okay, that's my excuses made. So, what did I actually say? Go to coolant chamber, right. Ah, that's right, this very generously takes you to the right cooling chamber. That's what these are called, by the way, coolant chambers. And I'm doing this off of memory, and I've had the map open in the editor just to load this up, like I genuinely, I'm doing this from memory. So is it this side, is it the other side? It must be the other side. And this is... it's supposed to be a secret which is possible to get. You know, it's not supposed to be so obscure that it's impossible for you to ever deduce it. And this kind of thing that I was doing there, where you're going around all the walls, seeing is there anything hidden, is there any fake walls, and yes, there is over here. So I guess it's technically doable. But yeah, I don't know, probably seemed a bit much for some people, right? So we now need to... We're actually on a timer here. So I better get my backside moving to the other coolant chamber. I don't actually think it would have been particularly easy to deduce it, because that little anchor, now I do know on a forum somebody did by coincidence follow that anchor and got teleported to that little room with instructions. Somebody actually posted, oh, what's all this about, you know, I was just exploring or accidentally got blasted out there. So you can find that room. It does give you, I guess, a good idea, but, you know, it's kind of a bit too obscure, I think. And you wouldn't be able to come down here. Somebody called this the epilepsy room. Yeah, I think that's probably a good way of describing it. So, again, this is entirely off of memory. There we go, okay. Now, there's a trick to doing this, it's not impossible. Right, there's our target, the Axon Manta, everyone's favourite vehicle. So, the way this works is you're on an invisible rotating platform. You have to essentially feel your way to the end of it by doing this. And it doesn't go all the way to the outside, that's a clever thing about it. Right, okay, so I'm at about the end of it now, that's good. Now, if this fails, I'm just going to cheat and put developer mode on, you know, the god mode, because I'm not doing this again. So, you have to be patient. You have to be very, very, very patient. And just hope nobody's noticing you up here. Tries to... Actually, I think the things block collisions, so that's not... It'd actually be relatively safe up here. And I'm saying be patient. I really hope I've not somehow glitched this so it doesn't work. Ah, takes its time, takes its time. I hope I'm in the right... So this goes out a bit further yet. Okay, there's a problem. Right, something's... This is slightly strange. There's supposed to be another platform which you can see. It's supposed to be like a little rotating... Okay, well... Okay, that's unusual. There's actually two platforms up there. And you're supposed to be able to know another one's coming because there's a light on it. So you'd have to just stay rotating up there until you see the light and then jump onto the other invisible platform. I'm not sure what's happened there where I seem to only be on one. That's slightly strange. But But yeah, after all this, I'll have to look in the edit and see what's actually. So after all this, you get the Manta. So it's a no vehicles map, but you can have a little fun blast with this thing. Now, I said there's a bit of an exploit. Now, in the default game, you'd have no idea that thing was there. Well, actually, there's another exploit for it. But there's a mod where, when you get to a node, you can bring up a little map to teleport to other nodes, and there's a mod which put a little dot on that map to correspond to a vehicle. Because one of the things without that was you're looking for a vehicle, you've no idea which node has it. If the vehicle's respawned, so it would put a little coloured dot on the mini-map. And unfortunately in this, that would show up as a Manta. People would say, oh, why is there a little purple dot for a Manta? Why is there a dot for the Manta on Foundry? There's not a Manta up there. So that kind of gave it away. Another thing is, I think you can actually technically shoot it down. I didn't do a very good job of hiding it, and I think there's... Okay, I didn't actually mean to do that. By some coincidence, I just managed to walk along the thing where... Okay, but basically, yeah, it's supposed to be a secret which can be deduced, not just kind of arbitrarily random possible. It's also supposed to be a secret which isn't supposed to be given away by, you know, that mod which puts the vehicle positions on the map. And you also shouldn't be able to shoot it down from the central nodes. Apparently you can do. Yeah, there we go. So you can only just see it. I think, I mean, it's a bit too late to really care about this now, but I think if I made a custom vehicle, you can basically duplicate the existing Manta, make it into your own vehicle, and I think that might stop it from showing up on the mod map. But as I said, it's all just a little bit, too late for that. Now, if I've not bored you long enough, I'm very curious about what's actually happened up here, right? So that's the rotating platform that we're just above right now. So if I go walk, we're on it again. And possibly I'm in the wrong version of the map or something, I'm not sure. See, this isn't... Well, this might have been a bit of a fruitless endeavour. Okay, hold on. Okay, this is just a quick extra couple of notes on the Manta hunt. So this room here, which I've just ghost moded myself to, because screw doing it again. The thing about all these corridors, if you walk down any of them except this very, very last one, and it's particularly, you have to crouch down, stick to that wall. If you were to just come along here and go, yeah, you see, get mercilessly blown up there. Another thing, which I think I will quickly get on to. So this rotating platform, it's a long and convoluted story, but essentially the version of the map which I showed you previously essentially had the wrong file. As I said, it's a funny story. So what we're looking at right here, this is the Beta 5 which is actually being played online. This is the, I guess, official Beta 5. What I showed you earlier was a kind of semi-updated one, which I must have made a change to it and not really still saved it as Beta 5 basically, which is a bit of a mistake. So I have two Beta 5s on the system. One of them, actually I had to go and download this very long story. I won't bore you with it, but okay, so what we're looking at right here, this is the official proper map. See that little light coming round there? You have to jump off. And that gets us over here to the Manta. So that's what this was all about. And just as a point, you cannot see that light from down there. There's a call distance set on it. So once it goes far enough away, see, it disappears. So you can only, it's very clever, you see, piece of geometry where you can't see it from down there in the normal play area. But when you come up here, you'll be able to see it. So, as I said, very clever. Or not. So, a few little things I thought I might point out in Ghost mode. So this Titan steel, This is actually not quite right. I don't know how easy it is to see, but there's a little bit of a misalignment right there. I think that was a BSP converted to static mesh. And it's not particularly noticeable down there. Maybe somebody looked up it on now. You certainly wouldn't notice it, on a 1024 by 760 DIMM LCD that this was designed and originally played on. But on this glorious 144Hz 1440p, you kind of notice these little things a bit more. Even from down there, let alone actually coming up and having a look at it. See this little misalignment there? That A is not the same height as the rest of it. Again, it was just a sloppy, I'll just put a Titan Steel logo. I'm not going to, I'll put a moderate amount of effort into it. But not excessive. So yeah, that's a permanent mark of shame on this map in my entire life, this logo. Now, something else which we're getting onto when we look at Foundry-Beta5, this outdoor area isn't actually outdoor, and I suppose you could say it's a video game, of course it's not outdoors, but it does obey normal geometry laws. So this is a bit of a cheat. This is actually effectively a room with partial skybox set. It'll make much more sense when we look at Beta 6, and I'll probably have a little follow-up video just explaining how there is no exterior to Foundry. It's an indoor map with, I guess, kind of faked outdoors. And this is kind of a good example of what I'm talking about. So right now we're in the solid space outside the levels, like Dev Stages, same engine. So this is effectively solid space. You see, there is no exterior here. It's just you're just in the void. And this little bit where you can kind of look up at the metal coming down, it's just a tiny little room built specifically for that purpose. And it's safe to say that this design choice, and it was a choice, it was a very reasonable choice at the time, actually caused me quite a bit of trouble in Beta 6, which, as I said, will be coming shortly after this. So it's just something to think about when you look at the geometry of this level. The way this was built basically presented a lot of difficulties when I started to modify it. So, as I say, just something to notice, perhaps. Like this little blinker light up here, which I don't remember seeing or putting in, but I must have thought it was a good idea at some point. Okay, I think that's enough for Foundry-Beta5. I just wanted to clarify that thing with the Manta and a few other little things we could have a look at. So, okay. Some final closing thoughts and a sneak preview of Foundry-Beta6, which is what's coming next. The nodes in this actually have a little bit less health than normal, and I say than normal. The nodes that are in basically every other map, the nodes that come as default with the editor, they have a set amount of health. And it's not actually user adjustable by default, which is interesting. I guess they just thought, well, it's such a core part of the game, nobody would ever want to change it. And to be fair, in all the kind of big outdoor maps with long distances between nodes and quite drawn out fights, the default value makes perfect sense, everybody's used to it. But this hasn't been the first no vehicles map, and since no vehicles maps are usually much smaller, I ran into a problem where the default health is actually too much. It takes too long to build the nodes, too long to tear them back down again. It tends to really break the flow of the game, because what you want is, continuous action. Whereas if the nodes have the default amount of health in a map like this, what you'll find is there'll be a bunch of battles focused around a node and everybody just gets stuck there waiting for it to be built up or waiting for it to be destroyed, and it would just disrupt the flow of the game basically. So these have, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but basically quite a bit less health. I think it's about half, maybe just a little bit more. So it kind of strikes a balance between needing to put some effort into building the nodes and not just getting stuck doing it. And as I said, by default, you can't actually adjust that, so somebody somewhere, wish I knew who they were, made a kind of custom node that you could import into the game and change the value to whatever you want, so I'm very grateful for that. But again, it's not the first map that that's been done for. The final little thing I want to say about this, there is a Foundry NV out there, and NV means no vehicles, because previously people would take an Onslaught map that had vehicles, take them out and just whack a NV on there. No vehicles. And I have no evidence that this exists other than me telling you about it, so you have to take it on faith, because it did exist. I remember seeing it in Unreal Tournament 2004 stats when that was still around, but Foundry NV, so I might have actually downloaded it, so I don't have it just now, but I'm sure at some point I downloaded it and say, have they just taken Foundry, taken out the Manta, and left everything else the same? That's exactly what they did. So someone out there got sick of the Manta hunts and just took it out and must have put that map on their own server or whatever. But it's quite funny if you're searching for Foundry, you'd say there's Foundry-Beta5, then there's Foundry NV, and you'd go, but wait, the Foundry-Beta5 is no vehicles, surely. So I just thought that was funny, that somebody actually went to that length. The other version of the map I found was one called Foundry RMD, which I have in my map folder, but I couldn't open it. It would just crash, and, as this screenshot shows here, it's Foundry RMD Unreal Mass Destruction. It's some sort of modded game mode, so I think somebody must have modified the map with custom vehicles or whatever, and as I said, I can't open that. And this stats website here is this just looks like a kind of interpretation of maybe they've copied it from Unreal Tournament 2004 stats while it was still up, but this actually shows this map. The RMD was played until 2016 at least. Maybe it's still played, or maybe the RMD's just died now, I don't know. But yeah, that's just the final closing thoughts on Foundry-Beta5 and Foundry No Vehicles in addition. So this has been a bit of a long haul of a video, and the next one's probably going to be kind of long as well, just because I'll be showing off all the stuff I did on Beta 6 that's never going to be played. Okay, absolute last bit, I promise. Fun fact, I've just had my COVID vaccine, so if I sound a bit strange, I'm waiting for any possible side effects. One thing which might have slipped people's attention. So there's this weapon anti-vehicle rocket launcher, Avril, which fires a guided rocket, surprisingly enough works against vehicles. And it's very ineffective against people, can actually kill a player, but very slow moving projectile, it's not exactly ideal. But it was actually, I did put it in this map, you can choose the weapons at each weapon locker, and I think I just put it in there without really thinking about it because I'm so used to doing it in other maps, and I actually reached the point, I don't know why I put the Avril in, somebody pointed out it's actually pretty good at taking down nodes. So you've already got a lot of weapons at your disposal, but the Avril you can kind of switch to fire off a rocket, and big target like a node's easy to hit. So I think actually, if I recall, did see people using it to take down nodes, especially if you're running low on other ammo, or maybe you switched it quickly just to fire off a Avril rocket at the node. So that's I think that's finally the last thing I have to say about this. I've kept thinking more and more as I've played the map and gone through my memories and old screenshots and whatnot. Well, I don't have any old screenshots, not for this game anyway. So I think that's finally it, and we'll be getting on to Beta 6 next time.